Welcome, friends, to worship this day. Is everyone having one of those mornings? It's kind of feeling like it, right? So let us prepare to celebrate. Let us prepare to comfort. Let us prepare to listen. Let us prepare to sing. Holy oneness beyond all naming, be our witness. Hold us in joy, in need. Hear our cries, receive our songs. Let us arrive generously to this space, that we may leave filled with new wonders, fortified for greater living. Our opening words this morning come from the Persian poet and mystic Hafez. Even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, "You owe me." Look what happens with a love like that. It lights the whole sky. I'm going to read that again. Even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, "You owe me." Look what happens with a love like that. It lights the whole sky. Giving freely, offering ourselves with abandon, letting all that we have and all that we are shine brightly in this world. What if we could be like the sun in Hafez's poem? What if we never kept score of giving, never imagined a debt was owed to us, lived free of the chains of not enough, and how could I ever? How could we know what it's like to be free together? Could we make this success, to turn out in all of who we are, giving freely of what we have in time, talent, and treasure? Because what else are we here for? Hold in your heart a glimpse of the freedom that would take. To be fully yourself. No limits on what or how much you could give. No limits on discovering and embodying all that makes your heart sing. What would it be like to be free together? Weeks ago, on November 11th, we gave each and every person in worship an envelope containing either a $10, $20, or $50 bill. The envelope read, "Do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, as long as ever you can." And it asked recipients to do three things: to take the money and use it for good, to mention the church in the act of giving, and to return to tell the story. I want you to tell each other the deeper stories behind your giving, not just where the money went, but why, and what moved in you as you gave, and what you've thought about giving since. Just a listing of the most basic facts of your giving tells a shared story that's powerful. So that's what we're sharing this morning. But as powerful as this is, you bearing witness and sharing your stories together is going to take us even deeper. So as we say the place where your money went, please stand and keep standing until we've finished the list. If you didn't participate in the reverse offering, simply listen for where and how this simple act of giving in small amounts connects us with a world far beyond our walls. The youth group Sandy Relief Trip.
Postage supplies being sent to an orphanage in Mexico. Postage for supplies.
Use the mic.
Oh. Postage for supplies being sent to an orphanage in Mexico.
Habitat for Humanity.
Gifts to homeless people in Harvard Square.
The Mahila Partnership, helping women in the developing world with health care and economic opportunity.
3 shares of pig to Heifer International, which should yield 58 piglets in the coming year.
An oreectomy for an uninsured trans woman.
Non-youth group Sandy Relief.
Gifts for the birthday party for homeless children that the youth group organized.
The Milton Food Pantry.
A set of gear toys for a special education classroom in Beaverton, Oregon.
Essentials for an orphanage in the Ukraine.
Helping a loved one get home to see an ailing parent.
A family gift to World Vision, building a better world for children.
A gift to Action Against Hunger.
Contributing proceeds from a Veterans Day cooking class to the youth group Sandy Relief Trip. And then taking some of what was baked in the class to the VA hospital in West Roxbury.
The Milton Food Pantry Thanksgiving Food Drive.
A homeless person in Boston.
Pie in the Sky through community servings, providing meals to homebound people.
A gift to the World Wildlife Fund.
A gift to the Milton Animal Shelter.
A direct gift to grandparents affected by Sandy.
Anyone want to share additional things that didn't make it back to us yet? You can just shout them out.
The Shaw Food Drive of the Thanksgiving.
Thanks. Anyone else?
To give to a woman who had postpartum depression, who had lost her job after having a baby, wanting to have money for Christmas.
A gift to a woman with postpartum depression who needed money for a Christmas present. The Billerica Food Pantry. Cradles to Crayons. Gift to a man who had been prominent and had fallen due to substance abuse. Microloan to 8 women in Mexico. Any others?
Several of you shared the word of this offering and invited matching gifts, so that $20 swelled to $90 and $10 swelled to $250, both of those for Sandy Relief. Others of you were inspired to take gifts you were already planning to make and multiply them. A few cans for the food pantry became a whole Thanksgiving meal, plus a $20 cash gift. And many of you matched the church's money with your own to increase the impact. The offering inspired great conversations between a mother and a daughter attending for the first time, and resulted in them matching the offerings to give $140 to a family in their school community for Christmas gifts. Megan Mylode wrote, "I bought some Legos for the Children's Hospital because when I went there for my appointment, they gave me a toy, and some people are very sick, and I want to cheer them up."
To succeed is to turn out well, we are reminded. Did this turn out well? Did you turn out better for having done it? Then let's call this a success. And as we sing out our children and their teachers, let us all let our lights continue to shine in song as we sing This Little Light of Mine. And children and teachers, we invite you to stay to sing a little bit of the song and maybe leave on the third verse when we're singing that we aren't going to hide our light under a bushel. Can we do that? Please rise and bow to your seat. You might have gotten wind of the fact that we've begun our annual budget drive here at First Parish, and every one of you will be given an opportunity to give to the financial health of this church, certainly within this hour in the morning's offering, and most of you more personally and substantially by being visited by a steward. Steward. Until getting involved in church life, I thought of stewards mostly as people who took care of passengers' needs on airplanes and, based on my extensive viewing of the Love Boat, on ships. Steward is a funny word. It's a churchy word, but it didn't originate with churches. It's a long and important sounding word that's often substituted when what we mean is giving or generosity. It comes from an old English word for the person who would guard the farmer's animal pen when he was away. The guard of the sty or pen, sty ward, became steward. The person entrusted, therefore, with the most precious assets and livelihood of another. It went on in later centuries to mean the overseer of workmen. You can see how that shift in language happened. The commodity changed. And then it became the name of the person who had the highest oversight over an estate of their employer. So when we talk about stewardship, especially in church, we're not just talking about the act of putting money in the Sunday offering or making an annual financial commitment. We're talking about the whole process of taking responsibility for the resources that are in our grasp. The stewards who are calling on you and emailing you and asking for your time are using some of the resources at their disposal, their time and talents, to care for the life and well-being of this church. They've taken on this special and particular role, but the work of stewardship belongs to each and every one of us, all the time. Because when we take on the act of stewardship, we're really acknowledging that whatever the resources that look like they belong to us, and our market economy has gotten us very into this notion of possession, right? They come from somewhere else, and they are going somewhere else as well. So stewardship isn't something that's practiced only by the wealthy and the powerful. It's a spiritual attitude that we adopt when we encounter the fact that we didn't make this world or the wealth of resources that come from it. We arrive into this world that we didn't create, are cared for from sources we didn't make, rely on forces far beyond our control, and we're endowed with talents and gifts and power to use them that we didn't earn and couldn't learn. So how do we rightly respond to such a wealth of blessing? Theologian Walter Brueggemann reminds us, the Bible starts with the liturgy of abundance. Genesis 1 is a praise song for God's generosity. It tells how well the world was ordered. It keeps saying, it is good, it is good, it is good, it is very good. It declares that God blesses, that is, endows with vitality, gives life to the plants and animals and the fish and the birds and humankind. And it pictures the Creator saying, be fruitful and multiply, an orgy of fruitfulness, everything in its kind to multiply the overflowing goodness that pours from God's Spirit. Later in Genesis, God blesses Abraham, Sarah, and their family and tells them to be a blessing, to bless the people of all nations. Blessing is the force of well-being active in the world, And faith is the awareness that creation is the gift that keeps on giving. The practice of stewardship asks us to live in the deep and ready awareness that we are simply guardians of this place that we inhabit, the wealth we possess, even our physical bodies, for just a short time. What will we do with them that gives them meaning? How will we keep the force of blessing that has been given to us active in our world? How will we take part in making good on the promise that creation is that gift that keeps on giving? Those are wonderful, expansive questions to ponder. But what interrupts our awareness of this great blessing, of that abundance that surrounds us, that makes our very lives possible? One word: fear. When we did our reverse offering, the invitation was to give a gift, take a gift freely given, and then freely give it further. To see what it felt like to know that you were trusted with making good out of a gift of faith. And though many of you reported struggling with it, you were indeed able to do it. I would even say that the process you went through in struggling is not lost in the way that the gift has moved on. Leslie McPherson Artinian captured her own struggle in these words, and with her permission, I share them. I got a $20 bill. Right away, I was overwhelmed at the prospect of how to distribute it best. I tend to get hung up on this on a regular basis. Because I work in Harvard Square, every day I get asked for money from addicts, from the homeless, from all kinds of people. To be starkly honest, it makes me anxious and sets off a fear reaction in me. There's a part of me that just doesn't know what to do and feels like I can't begin to understand how to help them, where to help them, what help even means. I also feel like I'm being sucked into something from which I won't be able to escape. I know this probably doesn't make sense, but generally, I don't give money to the folks in the square. Yet I've also been aware of this soup of emotions. When I got the money, knowing it was not my money, I knew that I had to push myself. The truth of abundance that began in the Hebrew Bible had a nice run until it came up against the power of fear. The idea of not enough isn't introduced until a full 47 chapters into Genesis. And let me tell you, those are long chapters. When Pharaoh's fear of famine in the land makes him attempt to control and own what he is afraid will not be enough. Leslie's fear, of course, is not really that her money won't be enough, but that in some way she isn't up to the task of deciding how to use it. I know she's not alone in that fear. How often have any of us stopped short of offering ourselves, our time, our talent, or our treasure because, though we were moved, we simply didn't know whether we could be effective? As Eric reminded us, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. has famously said, faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. Leslie decided to break her $20 into 4 $5 bills and give them to different individuals so that she would get repeated practice at confronting that fear. And as she engaged in the encounters, she realized that the change that was most important was not in the folks that she gave money to, because she couldn't know what happened to it after she gave it. The change was in herself. How easily we can forget the flow of blessing that's the fundamental truth of our lives. How easily we can tighten ourselves around our fear and limit ourselves from engagement, from connection, the thing that we most yearn for. How easily we can let our fear of personal inadequacy to solve the whole problem, to see the whole staircase, make the grand change, keep us from making the first step. Last week, we each made a commitment to one act that would help us feel connected, whole, and set us on the path of peacemaking. And I hope we'll share the stories of those acts with each other, just as we have those of the reverse offering, because each of them is also a different face of the spiritual practice of stewardship, of keeping the blessing flowing through us and active in the world, of continuing to be part of the act of creation with that force beyond us all that mysteriously gave us this great gift of birth and a planet to live on. This year, as we engage in our budget drive, we're at one of the most exciting junctures for this congregation. We're asking ourselves and each other what it really means to be faithful stewards of our resources, to be faithfully engaged in the world around us in a time when church is so strictly optional, in a time when church needs to change how it's relating to the larger world if it is to survive. And so as we stand here in this sanctuary, more than 200 years old, in this established church that is more than 300 years old, in this town that is 350 years old, we are looking to how we can best continue the legacy of the past into a full and vibrant future, one that makes good on all of our forebears' aspirations and also allows us to fully live into our own. It's an exciting time to be here. It's an exciting time to be asking these questions because there are questions to shape and to answer. When our Unitarian forebears preached that possibility of moral improvement in each and all of us, when our Transcendentalist teachers took full notice of the ways the divine could be known firsthand, and our Universalist ancestors preached the gospel of the loving God who wants to restore all of God's children to the arms of eternal love, this is the work they were talking about, the work of being in community, hearing each other's stories, keeping the blessings flowing among us, even though we live with fears in the pits of our stomachs about what will be enough and whether we are enough and whether our vision will survive. And so I will tell you again what I told you on the Sunday of the reverse offering, because I don't think any of us can hear it enough. You are full of good. You're meant to create goodness. You have the power to see where the divine is moving in your life, in our world, firsthand. You have this gift of blessing that's flowing through you all the time. I know because I've received it from every one of you. The way that goodness flows through you and is noticed by you is your gift. The way that you feel it most profoundly is the talent that you must offer to the world. Each of us is called to respond with an act of further creation, our piece of offering that continued creation and building of the kingdom of all beings that will be the paradise we seek. So as we've received these blessings of creation, we've been invested with the power of the divine that's woven through us all. Shining through us, it becomes visible in ever more valuable ways in the world. Through our time, through our talent, through our treasure, and most of all, through our relationships. So let's dream a little more together in these coming weeks ahead. As you make your financial commitment, do so with the idea of letting that blessing flow through you and into this community and this community's life in the world. Just as we've heard that reverse offering of the tiniest gifts, really, in the scheme of things, this is not big business we're running here, connected us with people in Ukraine and far corners of Indonesia and Mexico, and just in this town of Milton, hungry families. We can give together this collective gift of blessing that can be flowing from us readily and constantly into the world far beyond our walls. We have all kinds of vision for ways to make it possible, and we need all kinds of hands and hearts to make it happen. But I have complete faith that we are a community that can keep that blessing flowing, that can be part of a new creation. So friends, I hope that as we engage in this budget drive, we're not just thinking with our checkbooks, but we're thinking with our hearts, with our spirits, with our full gratitude, and with our full vision in mind. Let us be stewards, good stewards of that great gift of creation we're part of. And let us magnify it so that we can see new life, new love freely given everywhere around us. So may it be. Let's join in singing Hush as we enter into prayer. The words are printed in your order of service if you want to limit your paper.
Change my name.